What is up, and welcome into this live edition of Hoops from the Hills as we recap the West Virginia Mountaineers' victory over the Utah Utes in college hoops. I apologize for being late to the show, had some technical difficulties, but I thank you all for joining the show and thank you for being patient and letting me get through my situation here. I want to give a shout out real quick to Raven, to John, to Larry B. Thank you all for being in the chat already. See, you've hung in there with me, and I really appreciate it. Am I coming in okay? I'm actually using a new mic that I picked up over the weekend. It's a lapel mic. Hopefully the sound is okay. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, or let me know in the comments in the chat if the sound's coming through loud and clear. The West Virginia Mountaineers defeat the Utah Utes 72-61 in college hoops. A big win for the Mountaineers. I thought it was a must-win game. They had lost 4 out of 5. They needed to get back on the right track. They were able to do that in this game. So I really think it was a big moment, or a big night, a big game for the Mountaineers. Javon Small did his thing. Some other players stepped up on the team. Joe Yesufu stepped up in the first half. Second half, it was Jonathan Powell who stepped up, made some shots. Jonathan had been in a shooting slump. He came out of that shooting slump tonight in the second half, and I was glad to see that. Let's go ahead and jump in to the stats. Let's go ahead and share the stats like I normally like to do in these post-game shows. And we'll talk about them as we go. Obviously, West Virginia led at halftime, 36-27, and ironically scored 36 again in the second half and outscored the Utes by 2, 36-34 in the second half. When you look at the team stats, which we'll do first, and then we'll get into the individual stats. West Virginia stats will be on the right, Utah's on the left, because West Virginia was the home team. Utah shot 23 of 56, 41.1%. So not terrible. West Virginia shot 25 of 52, 48.1%. So a good shooting night for the Mountaineers. 3-point baskets, Utah was 6 of 23 for 26%. West Virginia was 9 of 24, 37.5%. So there was one stat that made a difference in the game. West Virginia was able to knock down 3 more 3-point shots. It's obviously a 9-point difference, and they win by 11. So that was a big part of the game. Free throws, 9 of 14 for Utah, 13 of 23 for West Virginia. Not good. West Virginia's free throw shooting has got to improve. They have been struggling from the free throw stripe as of late. 56.5% is not going to get it done a lot of nights. Fortunately, this night, because Utah didn't do a whole lot better, they were able to get away with it, and they were able to win in some other statistical categories. But if you're playing a game that's coming down to the wire and it's close and it's more even in other areas, that will cost you the basketball game. We saw that happen, actually. The last game that West Virginia played where they lost, and had they made a few key free throws down the stretch, they win that game. So tonight didn't matter because the gap in the score was wide enough. But if you're in a game where it's tight at the end, that loses you a ball game. Rebounds, Utah out-rebounds West Virginia 35-33, but like the announcers on the broadcast said, that's actually – I would almost consider that a win for West Virginia because they have been really struggling from the rebounding perspective, and they only lose this by two rebounds. That's actually not terrible for this team, especially a team in Utah that's much bigger than they are in size. Offensive rebounds, it was 9-6 in favor of Utah, and West Virginia actually had 2 more defensive rebounds than the Utes did. So, but again, Utah missed more shots than West Virginia did too. So obviously that gives them more opportunity. So you got to take that into account. Assists. West Virginia had more assists at 15-11. They won 6-2 in steals, 4-0 in blocks. They lost the turnover, they won the turnover battle. They only turned it over 7 times. They forced 10 Utah turnovers, and they got 16 points off of those Utah turnovers, where Utah was only able to turn the West Virginia turnovers into 6 points. Fast break points, 12-7 in favor of the Mountaineers. Points in the paint, Utah wins that 28-24. Fouls, 20-13. Utah actually committed more fouls in this game. And then technical fouls, there was the one on Utah. Largest lead, Utah led by as many as 6 in the game, and West Virginia's largest lead was 14. So those are the team stats. Again, the one that stands out to me, other than the negative one, which was the free throw shooting, and the positive ones, West Virginia won just about every statistical category in this game, with the exception of rebounding and with the exception of the free throw shooting and points in the paint. Everything else they won. So got to give a tip of the cap to them. By the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to say Josh Eilert Hope your trip back, other than the fact your team lost, hope your trip back to Morgantown was a memorable one. I saw the fans give him a standing ovation. Much deserved. Josh was nothing but pure class his entire time at West Virginia. What he had to deal with in that 2023-24 season, I mean, he was handed a poop sandwich and asked to make chicken salad out of it. He was asked to make chicken salad out of chicken poop, as my boss likes to say. And he was in a losing situation almost. I mean, he did make a lot of money last year, and it was a situation he probably couldn't turn down. But man, it may have even derailed his coaching career. And for that, I have a lot of respect for Josh Ott for the way he handled that situation. Again, nothing but class, never had anything negative to say about anybody. And you can tell the players respect him. You can tell the administration respects him. The fans obviously respect him. So hats off to Josh Ott. I'm glad he's landed on his feet and doing well at Utah. Hopefully that continues. And I would love to see Josh Ott at some point in the future get another head coaching opportunity somewhere down the line. Maybe start off at a lower level school and work his way up and do it the right way, kind of get his feet underneath him a little bit. See some success, maybe at a lower level, maybe a mid-major school or something. Have success there for a few years and then boom, work your way up. I think that's a better winning formula than what he had to deal with a year ago. But let's go ahead and jump over to the individual stats in this game. Again, I apologize, guys, for being late. I normally don't. I'm not that late normally. But I had some technical issues with the new microphone and the whole bit. For Utah, Jake Whalen had 10 points to go along with 4 rebounds. Ezra Asir had 6 points. Keanu Dawes came off the bench, had a really good night for the Utes with 14 points, 11 rebounds. So a double-double for Keanu Dawes. Got to tip the cap to him. But those are the only 2 in double figures were he and Jake Wallen. Lawson Lovering had 4 points. Gabe Matson, only 7 points in the game. So hats off to him. Hats off to the Mountaineer defense, rather, for holding him in check, only allowing him to put in 7 points on the night. For West Virginia, just some really good performances. We mentioned Javon Small. He had his 14 tonight, below his season average, but they were really keying on him, making sure he didn't hurt him. But he found other ways to hurt him because he also had 8 assists to go along with 4 rebounds. So, he couldn't score because they were making sure he didn't score, but he got his teammates involved. And tonight, his teammates stepped up and did their part and helped him. You had Amani Hansberry with 17 points, a really good night for him. Jonathan Powell, like I mentioned earlier, 11 points for him. You had Joe Yesufu off the bench with 14 points. Toby O'Connie had 9 points to go along with 4 rebounds and 2 blocks and 2 steals. Sincere Harris had 5 points to go along with a steal and 2 rebounds. Again, playing really good on-ball defense while he was in the game. He only played 19 minutes because of his injury, but when he was in there, he made a difference. Eduardo Andre, no points, 1 block, 2 rebounds. KJ Tenner, 2 points tonight on 1 of 3 shooting. Only 7 minutes played. So just really a good all-around team effort here. Everybody did their part. I felt like, and even though Javon wasn't able to score as many as he normally does, his teammates, and this is what this team has to do. There is a formula out there for how to guard Javon Small as far as preventing him from scoring the basketball. But when guys like Amani Hansberry step up and guys like Jonathan Powell step up, you can't stop all 3 of those guys. And if those two, Powell and Hansberry and even Yesufu can play like they did tonight, in the rest of the way, or at least most of the games going forward, West Virginia is going to win a lot more games. There's still 8 games to go in this Big 12 season. West Virginia now improves to 6-6 in league play, 15-8 overall. So again, 8 more games to go. They have now reached, I predicted going into the season, they would reach 15 wins. They're already there. They've already already well eclipsed last season's win total of 9 for the entire season. They're at 15, but they still, in my opinion, need to get to at least 20 wins. I think it's the magic number for them to get into March, to get into the NCAA tournament. So I think they need to win 5 of their next 8. Maybe 19 gets them in, but I will feel a lot more comfortable at 20. Because of some of the games, because of some of the losses on the resume, like to TCU, to K-State. Now, K-State is looking a lot better now, but you still look at that record. It was a game West Virginia should not have lost. The K-State loss, the Arizona State loss, the the TCU loss, all those will hurt them a little bit, I think. And then you look at, like I've mentioned in past shows, you look at some of the wins they have over teams like Mercyhurst and UNC Central. Those games are not going to help their resume. But I do think 20 gets them in, 19 probably gets them in, but I don't feel comfortable with 19. So I think they need to win 5 of their next 8 to assure themselves a spot. Now, that being said, if they can win 19, if they win 4 of the next 8 to go 500 the rest of the way, then they can knock off a game or 2 in the Big 12 tournament. That might offset any losses in the regular season. But just this game tonight, just overall, my thoughts on it in general, and then we'll get to the comment section. I just felt like this team they were well connected on defense. I really loved the aggression they played with, the intensity they played with. They were, like I said, they were locked in. I'm sure the environment, the home environment looked great in Morgantown. I thought that was a big part, and I really enjoyed seeing the light show. I had actually won tickets to attend this game, but was not able to go because I fell sick earlier in the week and just didn't feel well. And I told the people who where I won the tickets from, it was a local radio station. I told them, I said, look, I can't go, give the tickets to somebody else. So I didn't go, but I was able to watch it on TV, and I thought the light show was really cool. They did obviously they had the Cold Rush game tonight. They had the black jerseys with the blue stripes and the gold lettering. Wasn't real crazy about the blue striping. I did like the gold lettering and the gold rush, but I thought overall the uniforms looked pretty sharp. But I thought the crowd was good. It was a good sellout crowd. The crowd was loud. I think it made a difference in the game. And so hats off to you, Mountaineer Nation, for showing up and showing out and being loud. Hats off to you, Mountaineer Maniacs. You did a great job tonight. It really came through on the television screen how much of an impact you made in the basketball game. The light show, hats off to Rim Baker and his team, whoever put that in motion, no pun intended, for doing such a great job. TV announcers didn't love it, but hey, I thought it was awesome. So great job there. As far as the team goes, yeah, just they were locked in on defense. I really thought the big shots they got from Yesufu and Powell made a huge difference in the game. Again, and can't forget about Hansberry as well. It was great to see Amani Hansberry do what he did tonight. Let me get to a few comments here. I'll be honest with you, I don't have a ton of things to say about the game. I mean, I think the stats kind of spoke for themselves. This is one of those games where you can kind of look at the statistics and it kind of tells you the story, right? West Virginia forced more turnovers, took care of the basketball, they made their shots tonight. They made more three-pointers. You know, they were competitive on the glass. And they played, I mean, when you look at the steals were there, the blocks, the defense was there. Anytime West Virginia's statistics on the defensive end of the floor are lining up like they did tonight, and you see that they made more three-point shots than the opponent, most of the time they're going to win the game. And that's what it was tonight. So I really almost, it was one of those games that's kind of self-explanatory. West Virginia, in my opinion, was the better basketball team, and they played like it. That's what it boiled down to in this one. They were the better ball team, and they played like the better ball team. John Kelly says, let's go Mountaineers. Heck of a win. Good guard playing good to see Small. Got some help tonight. Absolutely. Raven Grady says, love seeing everyone step up the plate and not put it all on Small. I agree. John Kelly says, Lenardi pretty much said we're a lock if we just hold the fort. John, by hold the fort, what's that mean? Going 500 the rest of the way? Do you think that gets us in? I'm assuming that's what you mean, what he meant. Said it seems like the old Pac-12 teams use lots of size and range shots as a general strategy. Very, very well said, John. Very well said. Yeah, John, I didn't get to hear any of the halftime show. I had to leave and go get food during that time, so I missed the halftime show. I got and I even missed a few minutes of the second half. I was listening to it on the radio, though, on the way home. But so you got Larry B in the house. He says, audio sounds good. Thank you. Reva in the house says, how many wins we need to get NC? I think you probably heard me say it earlier. I think they need to get – I feel comfortable with 20. They may get in at 19. That's where I feel. Again, that's not counting the Big 12 tournament. If they go and win a game or two there, then that obviously makes a difference too. What is Small's overall foul shot percentage? He can knock them down. You know what? I'll look that up real quick. I should know. I think it's 80-some%, but I ain't 100% sure. But let's look it up real quick. Let's see. Da-da-da. He is shooting 88.1% from the free throw line this year. Throughout his career, wow. Man, he shot in 21-22, he shot 100%, but he only shot a handful of shots. He shot 85.4 in 22-23, 86.6% last year for Oklahoma State, and then he's shooting 88.1% this year. Yeah, if Javon Small goes to the line, you feel good about it. Anybody else, it's basically a crapshoot at this point because the rest of the team is struggling to shoot the ball from the free throw line, unfortunately. So, yeah, 88%. Scott Fisher says hopefully we can get up to a 7 seed to avoid one of the top 4 seeds. You talking about in the Big 12 tournament? Yes, I agree with that statement. The defense definitely showed up, Raven, for sure. What's up, WVU Mountain Air with Kenny? He says, howdy. Yep, the effort, John, that's what I love about this. You know, everybody, we were all concerned, myself included, going into the season about the lack of size on this West Virginia team. But, man, they play so much bigger than they are. You can say it's the size of their heart, which is partially true. But even though these guys aren't the tallest, like Toby O'Connor, for example, he's 6'8", but, man, look at his length. His arm length, his wingspan is extremely long. And it allows him to be able to guard guys that are taller than him. I mean, look at that block shot on Lovering. That was an awesome block. One of the best blocks I've seen in a while on a guy who's taller than him. But because of his length, he's able to guard guys like that. And I said Lovering's taller than him. I think he is. I shouldn't say that without checking first. But, yeah, they're able to play not only their hustle and their effort and their want to, but they know how to use their length to their advantage. Yeah, Lovering 7'1", 7'1", and O'Connell blocked a shot like he's a big man, and he's 6'8". So, yeah, I mean, they just don't back down from people, man. I love they're confident, they believe in themselves, and they're not going to back down from somebody just because they're bigger. And they know that they can compete. They know that they're going to have to outwork people. They know that they're going to have to dive on the floor after balls. They know that they're going to have to play excellent defense, and they're doing that in the games they win anyway. Now, even some of the games they've lost, they've done that for spurts or periods of time, but they've not done it for the full 40 minutes. Tonight, I felt like they were locked in and played good defense for the entire 40 minutes. And that's what this team has to do. They have no margin for error. This team has to play sharp on defense for an entire 40 minutes. If they don't, they're not going to win the game most of the time because there's just too much parity in this conference. They're not going to out now. If they had Tucker DeVries, maybe they have more room for error because they can outscore people in a lot of nights. But without him, and with teams keying on Javon and guys having off nights, they just don't have that other elite scorer. You've got to rely on your defense. I mean, that's just the way it is. Been a good weekend so far, John. Absolutely. Dawes is good. He's a heck of a player. Raven Grady says, I liked how DeVries started to rotate guys off the bench early. I do too. I loved his rotations tonight. Hopefully, like I said, I hated to see that Harris wasn't able to play more than 19 minutes. You could tell he was not 100% tonight. He was actually questionable coming into the game. But I was glad he was able to get the minutes that he got. And he, again, like I said earlier, they made a difference. He's a spark plug for that team. That, to me, that's a perfect name for him. They should nickname him. I know his nickname's Buck. They should nickname him Spark Plug. When he's going strong, the entire team is going strong. He really gives them that juice, that lift that they need when he's playing really hard and with a ton of effort on defense. The rest of the team kind of feeds off of it, and that's what I love about Sincere Harris is what he brings to that side of the floor. Raven says Utah wasn't going to hand it over, had to play hard all. Yeah, they kept fighting back. West Virginia pull ahead of double digits. Utah would cut it to 6. Pull ahead double digits, they'd cut it to 5. Pull ahead double digits, they'd cut it to 4, whatever. So Utah had a lot of fight in them. You got to give them credit for that, Raven. You're absolutely right. WVU Mountaineer with Kenny said, WV Fan 13, thank you for joining the show. Says, finally got a complete game. Small got a ton of help. I think Lenardi meant win at home. Okay. Thanks for clarifying. And he's right there. If they can hold serve at home, matter of fact, let's just look at the schedule. I think when you look at West Virginia's schedule, let's see how many home games they got left compared to away games here. All right, so they've got all right, they're at home against, so they got 1, 2, 3, 4 home games. 1, 2, 3, 4 away games. So yeah, they're splitting them up 50-50. So if you can win your home games against BYU, Cincinnati, TCU, and UCF, which those are all games they should win. There's no reason West Virginia should not be able to win all 4 of those basketball games. And then I think they can go on the road and pull off. I think they can beat Utah on the road. I think they can beat BYU on the road. Now, Texas Tech and Baylor are going to be tough. Not saying that West Virginia can't win those games. I think they can. But they're going to be tougher to me than, especially Texas Tech. They're playing really, really good basketball right now. Now's not the right time to be playing Texas Tech. But West Virginia could realistically win 6 of the next 8 games, in my opinion. Now, will they? Don't know. But they realistically can. But they should at least hold serve at home. And that would get them to 8. That would get them to 19 wins. Probably puts them in the tournament. Like I said, I feel more comfortable at 20, but if that's what Lenardi said, I trust Lenardi's judgment on that. He's right a lot more than he's wrong. So I'll have to go with that. But again, to me, that 20 win number just looks a lot better when you're comparing resumes and you're looking at 2 teams and you have nothing else to go by just yet. But other than that, 20 is going to look a lot better than 19. It just does. Small got a ton of help. Let's see. David Cummings in the house. He says a win in league play is a win, and it doesn't matter if it's at home or on the road. One more win, and we have a winning record for the regular season. Great job by this team. Yes, that's a great point. Who would have listened after the year this program had last year? I think the expectations coming in for me were 15 wins. I said 15, 16 wins. I've stuck by that. Now my expectations have obviously changed over time. I'm now expecting 19 to 20. But when you look at where they came from last year, how they had to do an entire roster rebuild, I think, it's already been you could already say it's been a pretty good, successful season to a degree, right? Now, I'm sure the players, the coaches, and even a lot of fans aren't going to agree with that. And even I don't now, because this team has shown what they can do. And now our expectations have changed along with that. But considering the injuries this team has dealt with, the adversity they've had to deal with, players that, again, injuries, guys that haven't even played a game like Jaden Stone because of injuries and other things, again, like I said, the roster rebuild, all the things that have went into this for this program and what Coach DeVries has been able to do, it's been a heck of a season already. Heck of a season. But that being said, there's a lot more there that they can grab a hold of. They can go grab a Big 12 championship. Who's to say they can't go out and win a Big 12 tournament? I'm not predicting it to happen, but it's possible. They can go into March and win a couple games in the NCAA tournament. And yes, I know that looks weird. It's because I'm using a green screen and I'm drinking a green beverage. So that's why it looks like that. That's kind of I didn't give that a lot of thought, did I? But anyway, I like sorry, that kind of distracted me. And I was kind of sitting here thinking, why in the world does my drink look clear? Well, because it's green. And I'm using a green screen. All right. Let's see. Yep, they need to start at the foul line shooting 60 shots before going to workouts. You can tell Tanner wanted to try to make something happen tonight. Yep, absolutely. 8 games left, 4 on the road, 4 at home. Defend the home court, win 1 on the road, 20-win season, and that would be fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Who would have predicted that coming into this year, right? Stanley Metz Jr. says missed a game due to work, but glad to see we won once I was able to turn my phone on. Just need 4 to 5 more to make the tourney. Hopefully, get more than 4 to 5 needed. Yes, absolutely, Stanley, spot on, man. And I'm also sorry that you had to miss the game. Got BYU Tuesday night. That's going to be a big one. Jacob Yoho's in the house. He says WVU needs to buy Small's mom a house to keep him. Well, Small, unfortunately, will be out of eligibility after this year, Jacob. The new 5th-year rule did not get implemented. So he will not have any eligibility left. Raven Grady says women got a good win against Houston today as well. Absolutely. I sometimes forget about the women's team. I apologize. I don't forget about them, but I forget to talk about their games. Hats off to the women's team. Big win over Houston. A Big 12 road win. Even though Houston's kind of struggling, anytime you can get a win on the road in conference, it's a good day. And they are rolling, John. They're ranked 18th in the country right now, so they're doing well. Got Travis Overdorf in the house. He says, if we play like this in the tournament, we have a chance to be a Sweet 16 team. Absolutely, Travis. Absolutely. John says the next TV games is on February 19th on ESPN2. Yeah, West Virginia has very, very few of those this year, unfortunately. The majority of their games, even going into the season, I think we kind of knew that most of the games are going to be on ESPN+. I would love to be able to figure out, I don't know if there's any way that, I'm sure ESPN keeps track of this, but I wish there was some way for us to get our hands on the data as how many subscriptions has ESPN been able to get by having Big 12, the relationship with the Big 12? How many Big 12 fans are purchasing ESPN or buying subscriptions to ESPN Plus to watch their teams play? I would love to be able to get a hold of that data because I would love to see if the TV deal the Big 12 has is worth it, having all these games on ESPN Plus. Now, if it's worth it financially, then I'd love to, for them to keep it going maybe in the future. But if not, man, do something different. Thank you, Mark. It's not technically new. It's just it's kind of my backup deal. When I have to change, when I'm not in my normal studio, sometimes I have to move and do my videos elsewhere due to the way my house is laid out. But so I don't disrupt other people and whatnot. But I got another location I can come to, and I can switch my backgrounds around with a green screen. So it's pretty cool. This is one of my options here. But I appreciate the compliment, man. I really do. It does take some, you got to have the lighting just right. You've got to have, so it's a little bit, it's not as easy as it looks sometimes. John Kelly says the future is looking up next year with Tucker, Stone, and others coming in for the summer and fall just to be where they are this year due to hustling. Absolutely. Yes. Let's fingers crossed that Stone does decide to come back to Morgantown. They said that has not been determined yet. Coach DeVries said he's not had that conversation with Jaden yet, whether he's coming back or not. So, but fingers crossed he does. But at least we know that Tucker should, as long as the Big 12 or NCAA, whoever it is, approves his extra year or his medical redshirt year, which I don't see a reason why they would not. As long as they approve it, then he'll be back next year. And that's a great starting point right there in and of itself. And then you got Hansberry back, Sincere Harris back, KJ Tenner back, Jonathan Powell. Now, this is obviously we know the transfer portal's out there. These guys could leave. We know that. But assuming they don't leave, it's a great starting point. And then we've got that great freshman class coming in next year with 3 4-star kids, very talented kids. One of them is rising up the rankings so fast, he may end up being a 5-star before it's over with. He is at Braden Hawthorne, I think is his name. He's absolutely shooting up the rankings. It's unbelievable how fast he's shooting up the rankings. WVU Eric Flowers in the house. He says, "What happened to Stone? Did he break on an arm, shoulder, pop out?" My understanding, Eric, and this hasn't been reported, but the rumor mill out there is that he had and it's really more than just rumor mill. The word that I'm hearing is behind the scenes is he suffered a very serious, or I assume it was very serious, concussion at a practice. Look, again, I'm speculating there. That's what I've been told by some people. I think it was a concussion, but it must have been a very serious one. Then we heard Coach DeVries mention in a press conference that he had also had some family situation come up too that caused him to miss some time. So I think he's just had a lot of things going on between the injury and then some personal things that it's just kept him away for so long that I think and again, I'm speculating a little bit here, that they're probably just decided he's missed so much time. It would be best for the young man if they can preserve this year, let him come back another year and have a better ending to his career. That Cincinnati game is going to be a good one. This is from WVU Fan 13. That Cincinnati game is going to be a good one. There was a lot of barking between WVU and Cincinnati players at the end of the last game. It will be a good one. Maybe there's a little rivalry, bro. We could use a good rivalry in the Big 12. We haven't had one, have we? Maybe we can get a little rivalry going between Cincy and West Virginia, at least on the basketball side. Get some excitement brewing here. We haven't had a rivalry since we've been in this conference. Maybe we can get one going. WVU doesn't fear the road with this team, win or lose. I love that, John. Eric Lauer says I've had ESPN Plus for a few years myself, Eric, but to be frank, had so many of West Virginia's games not been on it, I wouldn't have bought it. I bought ESPN Plus so that I could watch my Mountaineers play. That's the sole reason I bought it. And I would imagine there are a lot of other fans out there like me who have done the same. And I would love to know how many of those are out there in Big 12 country, because apparently ESPN thought it was worth it and that they would get new subscriptions, and that's why they used that's why the Big 12 sold their third tier rights to ESPN for that purpose. Hopefully it comes out to be worth it in the end. Hopefully when it comes up for a new contract in 2030, 2031, they show Brett Yormark and the Big 12 the money. Raven Grady, I actually am hoping to do a show on this. I do think it's possible. Of course, Iowa hasn't even fired their coach yet, but I do think it's possible. But I don't think it's likely. I don't think Darren DeVries is the type of guy that would jump ship in a year. But again, it is home. Iowa's his home state. So you never know. I definitely wouldn't rule it out completely. Eric, I think we've got one. He's not Javon Small, but I think KJ Tenner can be a point guard next year, or at least in the future, because I really think the future's bright with him. I love his game. I love what he brings. Again, he's not Javon Small, but you don't need him to be. You're going to have Tucker back next year. Tucker's going to be able to take care of some of your scoring. If Jaden comes back, he might be able to handle some of the scoring duties. If all these other guys come back, you're not going to need KJ. KJ can be a true point guard, a guy who wants to distribute the ball, get his teammates involved. Those are the things he can do. I think he can score the ball better than – I just don't think he's aggressive enough at times to try to score, but I do think he can. But I don't think that's necessarily his number one priority. He wants to get his teammates involved and run the offense. And I think he can do that well enough as he gets older and matures physically and even mentally and gets accustomed to the speed of the Big 12 and whatnot and gets more minutes. It's all going to come with experience. So, Eric, to answer your question, I think KJ is the point guard of the future, but he's going to need more help around him than what maybe Javon's getting right now, because he's not the same type of player. He's not going to be a scorer-first point guard. Got to go. Relief crew here to get us. Good night. Hey, Stanley. Thanks, brother. Thanks for joining in. Daniel Gigax in the house. Is Cincy really a rival? They're not, but maybe we got one brewing. That's what I'm saying. Maybe we got one brewing. Maybe got a little rivalry with Kansas, Eric, but I don't think Kansas looks at us the same way. David Cummings says, I'm one of the many that have ESPN Plus for Mountaineer games. Yep. Silva Mark says the same thing. And I guarantee there's a lot of other Big 12 fans who have done it. They know how passionate us fans are. They know we're dumb enough to spend that extra money to watch our team. They know we're passionate enough. I shouldn't say dumb enough, but they know we're passionate enough. I really don't like giving ESPN a lot of my money, to be frank. But I also love my team enough. I don't want to miss it. So, and Mike, I totally get it. A lot of people probably can't afford ESPN Plus, and that's another issue. There are a lot of fans out there who can't. My parents don't have ESPN Plus. My dad has to listen to every game on the radio, just about, because he doesn't want to have to spend that extra money on ESPN Plus. He's retired. My parents are retired, but they're on a fixed income, and there's a segment of West Virginia fans who are in that. West Virginia has one of the highest populations of baby boomers in the country. So I'm sure there are a lot of retired West Virginians who can't afford, and even non-retired for that matter, who can't afford it. And that goes throughout the Big 12. I'm sure there are a lot of fans out there who can't afford that $11 or $10 or $15 a month, whatever it is, subscription just to watch a few games a year. I get it. That's why I wish they would figure out another way to get us our games. Mark Painter says, not a statement win. Bottom tier team statement is going to be Baylor or Texas Tech. We may get to 18 wins, but I don't see that into the tournament. We blew too many chances at the bottom tier team. Going to take a miracle. Mark, man, I totally understand where you're coming from. They have blown some games, but I think they've won enough of the big games to offset that, if that makes sense. I think right now you cannot discount West Virginia's resume and the wins they have over Gonzaga, over Arizona, over Kansas, over Iowa State. Those are all still big wins. Now, I understand what you're saying. The Arizona State loss, the Kansas State loss, the TCU loss, those all hurt. I agree. The Pitt loss even. Those all hurt. I understand that. But they only have one loss that's not a Q1. When you look at the net rankings, how they go by quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, quad 4. Only one of their losses is outside of quad 1, and that was a loss to TCU last week. And if TCU wins another game or two, they might become a quad 1 team. So none of these losses are technically terrible losses. They're not great losses, but they're not terrible losses, if that makes sense. Now, what they can't do, though, Mark, to your point, they can't do that anymore. They have got to go out the rest of the season, win the games they got to win, and hopefully even steal another game or two. But they've got to do that, to your point. They've got to stop losing those games that they shouldn't lose. So your point's fair. I just don't think it's as I don't think the losses are hurting them as much as maybe we as fans are assuming they will at times. If that makes sense. But I appreciate the support, my man, and for watching the show, and obviously for the $5 super chat there. Much appreciated, my man. Eduardo Andre this is his last year, Raven, to answer your question. Eduardo Andre, Javon Small, Joseph Yesufu, Toby O'Connie, and I think one or two of the bench guys, Harris Elazovic, I think, and then maybe one more will be out of eligibility. Raven Grady says, my dad cancels his subscription after basketball season and then picks it up next season. And that's, a lot of people do that. A lot of people do that. Sorry about that, folks. These buttons on these computers are sometimes extremely sensitive. And I accidentally kicked myself out of the studio. Mike says he listens. Mike, that's exactly what my dad does every game. But I will say this: Tony and Brad do a great job of calling these games and making you feel like you're there. And about the best thing, outside of watching it, it's the next best thing. And sometimes it's better, depending on who the announcers are. Brother Mark, I wish I could, man, but I don't think YouTube would take too kindly to that. Neither would ESPN. Trust me, I thought about it, though. Can't lie. I have considered it. Mark says, maybe I'm old, but sometimes I enjoy listening to games on the radio. I don't get any games on CBS Sports Network. I don't get CBS. Well, I do get it at home, but when I was traveling, the last game they had on CBS Sports Network, and my hotel didn't have it. So I actually bought YouTube TV while I was at the hotel. YouTube TV had like a 7-day free trial or something. So I signed up for YouTube TV just to watch that game. And then as soon as the game was over and I did my show, then I went straight to YouTube TV and canceled my subscription. Yeah, we do need some bigs, Raven. That I hope Darren goes out and recruits, because the 3 guys they have coming in are all 3. They are one of them I think's tall. I'm trying to think. But they're none of them are true 5s. So I'm hoping he goes out and goes into the portal and gets recruits a couple guys who are true 5s, especially somebody who's good as far as rebounding the basketball, blocking shots, things like that. Ofri Nove could be back next year. Jacob, great point. He's redshirting this year as well. So Ofri will be back. Again, Amani Hansberry, Sincere Harris, Jonathan Powell, KJ Tenner, now Tucker DeVries, maybe Jaden Stone, depending on what he decides to do. Again, Tucker still has to get that redshirt, that medical redshirt approved, but I think he will. But yeah, everybody else, for the most part, will be graduating and has no eligibility left. Let me make sure. Kansas State beat Kansas today. I saw that, WVU fan 13. That Kansas State's playing excellent basketball right now, and that loss doesn't look as bad. But they had a losing record when West Virginia lost to it. It looked bad, but it's turned out not to be you heard Bill's. I don't know how many of you saw the comment or heard the comment Bill Self made in his postgame presser. He said that does not look like a 12-11 basketball team out there, talking about Kansas State. Stormy Cyclone says, I don't want to give ESPN the satisfaction. Stormy, buddy, I totally get it, and I kind of feel the same. But unfortunately, it's, since our teams are in the Big 12, sometimes I feel like we don't have much of a choice. You know what I mean? So, listen, I just got a thing pop up on my screen. The battery on my computer is about to die. So I'm going to call it a night here on this one. I really appreciate you all tuning in and joining me here on this live show. A big win for the Mountaineers. Utah's not, yes, is Utah one of the top teams in the conference? No, they're not. But anytime you can get a conference win against a team with a winning record, it's a good win, and I'll take it. The team can get their confidence back, hopefully propel them into the next game against BYU, which should be a tougher game. BYU's a good team. Hopefully they can go out and beat the Cougars, get two straight wins, get back on the winning track, and hopefully finish the season on a positive note and cruise into March on a hot streak. That's what we like to see. You want to see teams go into March hot. That's what you want. You want to get hot at the right time. Hopefully this team can do that. They still have 8 games to do it. 8 games to do it. All right. Thanks to all of you again for joining on. Sasquatch, what's up, brother? Thank you all for joining. Make sure before you leave, you hit the thumbs up button. If you're watching this on the replay, please do the same. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share it with your family and friends who like West Virginia basketball and who enjoy watching YouTube videos. And drop a comment below. Even if you're watching this on the replay, the comments really help. Let me know what you thought about the Mountaineers' performance against the Utah Utes. Thanks again for joining. Let's go Mountaineers. Stay blessed and Q Country Roads.